Why video games are no longer fun. You clicked on this for a reason. Either because it resonates with you and you've noticed video games aren't quite the same joy they used to be, or because you think it's so outlandish because you just had fun playing a video game a little while ago. This is inspired by a video by another YouTuber called Jackass. And I wanted to give my 2 cents, or maybe even a whole dollar. That was such a lame joke. Are video games just worse, or are we just older? And if it's the latter, what about getting older makes video games less fun? I'm going to start with talking about age, and then I'll get into video game quality and the video game industry later. To start with, I do believe that age is a significant factor as to why video games are no longer as fun as they used to be, as when you were a kid. I mean, you might still be a kid watching this, so in that case, I don't know, but keep watching. I mean, think of other games you used to play as a kid. Not video games, but games like The Floor is Lava, Tag, maybe Cards Against Humanity. It's not just video games that get old. Many games in general get old as we grow out of them. Like the games you played when you were 3 are not the same games you played when you were 15. Also, any game can get boring if you play it too much, regardless of age. For example, every day at lunch, for nearly a year, my friends in high school played Mafia, the game where you try to snoop out the secret killer. It took me 5 years to be interested in playing that game again. And at that point, I just don't find it nearly as interesting because I've played it to death. There's not many new potentialities or things I haven't experienced in the game. To go back to age though, there is a negative stigma playing video games as an older adult, because video games are generally seen as a childish thing. Like, oh, you're 30 and you still play video games? People picture guys in their basement with no social life as the type to still play video games at age 30. But let's ask the question, what is play? Play is honestly learning, but without the overbearing presence of someone telling you what to do or too many restrictions or rules. It's asking what if. It's exploring. That might sound weird, play equals learning, but the reason video games are so addicting is because they've actually perfected the learning process, and there's several books that talk about this. I forget the exact book that I first read about this in, but here's the link to another book that talks about how video games really just have perfected the learning process, and that's why they are so entertaining. Because the brain likes learning, but it gets bored or zones out when something is either too easy or too hard. You know, when you've played a game that's too easy or too hard, it gets either frustrating or boring fast, and you hang up the controller. But video games that are good have just the right balance of problem and then reward to make your brain feel like it's learning and progressing. But as we grow older, the stuff that our brain is drawn to and motivated to learn and explore changes. Play does not look the same for everyone across ages and other demographics. According to an article from NBC News, clinical psychologist and chief of the Division of Psychology at Ellis Hospital, Dr. Rudy Niedecker, says there are 2 basic tenets of play. First, it is something that we do purely for enjoyment and or entertainment. It is something we do just for fun, he says. Second, it is something that is intrinsically motivating. In other words, it is something that we want to do and is not something we need to be coerced or bribed into doing. So by that logic, doing something completely voluntary just for enjoyment or entertainment, playing video games, is a form of play. Or gossiping online or texting and bantering with friends could be a form of play. Overall, what I'm getting at, I think personally, is that as we get older, our minds are just more cemented in reality. And video games require a certain degree of imagination to truly immerse yourself in the game and actually care about and connect with the character that's jumping on the screen. If you can't get connected to the character like you did when you were a kid, perhaps it's because there's a lot more things on your mind that you think take significance over that video game. You may put down the controller to go do, learn, or play something else. And I think a big part of games is the social aspect, playing with friends or comparing your scores to friends. So as less people your age stop playing video games for whatever reason, it just becomes less fun. Then there is the big question, are video games today actually worse than they were before? Is it bad game design? Are the devs worse? What's happening? Honestly, I'm not a video game expert, so I don't know. But there seem to be a lot of randos on the internet who would agree and have reasons for why video games are lower quality than they were before. Their reasons are: 1, companies are more focused on money these days instead of quality. And I know you might think quality would lend itself to money, but I guess that's not their strategy. Companies are perhaps more focused on getting money through quantity rather than quality. 2, video game devs focus on making the game look better and run better rather than story, character, and game mechanic design. 3, because of the video game industry these days being so money hungry, games are pushed to be released before they're really ready, leading to the game sacrificing some of its artistic vision, or there are bugs galore. Basically, capitalism ruins everything is what I'm hearing. And I have my own personal reason as to why video games are less high quality than they were before, and that is sequels, which yet again is something caused by capitalism. Just like movie companies, video game companies decide to pursue sequels over original titles because the sequel already has a fan base, so they know it will be somewhat financially successful and sell. And the problem I see in this is trying to chase a high, like diminishing marginal utility costs. Thanks, economics. The law of diminishing marginal utility says that the marginal utility from each additional unit declines as consumption increases. Basically, the first time you have a hamburger, it's the best hamburger you've ever had in your life, and each sequential hamburger is just not as good. The dopamine doesn't hit as much. Animal Crossing, your first time playing it, your first Animal Crossing game, amazing, superb. And then from there, it's just chasing that high again through new horizons. Oh boy. And that's why I think we really need new titles, because although I will be buying Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, it is not going to give me the same amount of dopamine that it gave me when I was a kid playing the original Diamond on my DS. It really is just going to be chasing that high. And that's why I'm so excited for new games and original titles, like Palia, for instance. That's one game that I'm really excited about. I'm not sponsored or anything, by the way, just gotta put that out there. Because it's so new. You know, there's also stuff like Coral Island, which is an original title, but to me, that honestly still feels like a Stardew Valley remake. I will play Coral Island, though. With Palia, though, they're doing something somewhat new with the whole cozy MMO thing, and I really hope they can do it successfully. And I think that could bring me a lot of new joy and a new game experience to have, because I've played cozy games before, and I've played MMOs before, but I haven't quite blended the two. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what other games or topics you want me to talk about. Yeehaw, howdy, see you later, good night!